What is up, F and True followers, wrestling fans, and members of the YWC? JC Styles here with the F brand of wrestling and entertainment here on YouTube.com with the Tuesday night Smackdown review. Kind of different. Smackdown was live tonight on February 21st, 2012. So we'll get right into it. We see Daniel Bryan coming out and talking about what he did in the Elimination Chamber, how he went in as World Heavyweight Champion and left World Heavyweight Champion. He talks about how he has to defend at WrestleMania 28 against Sheamus, how he will ride this road to success that he has currently been on and defeat Sheamus at WrestleMania 28. Then The Miz comes out and basically talks about how when everyone doubted him that he'd never be World Heavyweight Champion, how Daniel Bryan would never be World Heavyweight Champion, how everyone was picking on Daniel Bryan because he didn't have what it took. The Miz was quote-unquote there through all the accolades that he made, his Daniel Bryan's accomplishments, through being his coach and his mentor on Season 1 of NXT. Then we see Sheamus come out, and we basically see Sheamus and The Miz get into a little bit of a confrontation. We see Daniel Bryan slap Sheamus, which Daniel Bryan gets out of the ring. The Miz cuts Sheamus off, which leads into a match. When we come back from commercial break, we see Sheamus pick up the win over The Miz. Then we see Teddy Long and John Laurinaitis backstage, arguing who's going to win what match between the rematch between Ezekiel Jackson and David Otunga from last night on Raw. And then we see a tag team match. We see Kofi Kingston and R-Truth against Jack Swagger and Dolph Ziggler. We see Dolph Ziggler and Jack Swagger pick up the win over R-Truth and Kofi Kingston in a very great, solid tag team match. Kofi and R-Truth just have that in-ring awareness, like they've been tagging together for quite some time. I have a feeling that they're going to be major contention for the tag team titles. Like Brian said in last night's Monday Night Raw review, what does this mean for Evan Bourne when he comes back from his suspension? We see Santino with the Cobra target practicing on plastic cups, practicing on the Cobra. We see him then meet up with, interrupted by Heath Slater, and says, "You want to know a quick way of getting these cups off the table?" And he basically just slaps all the cups off. Then he turns around, he goes to attack the Cobra, and Santino says, "This is just not any Cobra, it's a spitting Cobra." And he basically pretended to have like a little squeeze bottle, like it was spitting venom at Heath Slater. Then we see an unfair singles match. We see Drew McIntyre having to face the Great Khali. Prior to Khali, during his entrance, you hear Drew McIntyre going around saying, "I shouldn't be doing this. This isn't right. I shouldn't be. This is not fair. Blah blah blah." We see Khali pick up the win over Drew McIntyre. Now, Drew McIntyre has been on a losing streak as of late, and he hasn't really gotten the proper push. A lot of people saying that this is his build-up to his big push, that once he starts picking up wins, he's going to be on a very huge, momentous push. Then we see Mark Henry pick up the win over the Big Show. Well, it really wasn't a win because we see Big Show going for the chokeslam. Cody Rhodes comes out and basically says, "Let's take a look at Big Show's quote-unquote embarrassing WrestleMania moments when he was facing Akibono at WrestleMania 21 in the sumo match." Then we see the World's Strongest Slam, followed by the World's Largest Splash. Then we see a kick out by the Big Show, and then Big Show gets up and just hits the WMD and then takes off after Cody Rhodes. Then the next segment of the night, we move into a Undertaker Triple H promo from this past Monday night. Then we see the rematch from last night's Monday Night Raw, David Otunga picking up the win over Ezekiel Jackson. Now, they're definitely building David Otunga up, and it's very good. I'm not really was never really big on Otunga, but the fact is that they're giving him more in-ring time is definitely good. If you guys remember back in the day, I was a huge Nexus fan. I was also, I'm still a very big fan of the younger talent getting their shots and getting their time on TV to showcase their talents. Then we see, after follow that match, we see the Eve Cena package from last night on Monday Night Raw again. Then we get a little message from Michael Cole coming back from commercial that CM Punk and Chris Brown, R&B artists, were beefing over on Twitter. They've been exchanging back and forth Twitter beefs. For those of you who have been following it, you know what I'm talking about. If not, basically CM Punk tweeted about, made a comment about how beating women is not right, and how he referred to the incident between Rihanna and Chris Brown. And then Chris Brown picked up on it, and then he started talking about CM Punk, and they went back and forth. Chris Brown turned around and to go on record to say that CM Punk is a steroid abuser. And then once he said that, CM Punk did a Twitter vid from backstage for his Twitter page at Smackdown tonight. Talked about how he wants to see someone, if it's not him, put Chris Brown in his place. And then basically talks about how he needs to, do more community service, picking up trash on the side of the road for what he did. And he goes on to talk about straight edge and how he drug free and everything. So it's a very heated Twitter beef, and it's being picked up by the media. Then we see a backstage interview with Josh Matthews and CM Punk right before. He talks about Daniel Bryan winning the world title going to his head, how he claims to be a role model, how he claims not to eat meat, and that he goes, well, I guess he's kind of, picking up on what I was doing years ago with the Straight Edge Society. And he goes, if he makes his girlfriend AJ shave her head, I'm going to go after him for copyright infringement, what I thought was funny. Then we move into the last match of the night. We see CM Punk versus Daniel Bryan with a little controversy. We see the first match, first of many restarts. We see CM Punk pick up the win over Daniel Bryan. When DB tries to weasel out of the match, Sheamus runs up behind Daniel Bryan, throws him back into the ring, which is met by a side martial arts kick to the head, and CM Punk picks up the win. Then we see Johnny Laurinaitis come walking out and restart the match. He says he's not going to allow this injustice to go on any further. And then the match goes back on. Then we come back from a commercial break. We hear Daniel Bryan's music hit. We hear him running around screaming, yes, yes. And Teddy Long comes out and restarts the match. Then we see the two going up for a superplex to the top rope. We see them both hit the mat after the superplex, and they both rolled each other up like a small package. Both men's shoulders were on the mat, but the ref from where he was at couldn't see exactly whose shoulder was up and whose shoulders weren't. And then we see the GMs get in the ring and try to award the match to one another. Then they wind up getting Teddy Long winds up pushing John Laurinaitis. Laurinaitis pushes Teddy. Teddy takes his coat off and throws it in John Laurinaitis' face. And then we see an unfinished to what was a really great matchup for the ending of SmackDown champion versus champion. We see SmackDown go off the air. So guys, thank you for tuning in to this live SmackDown review. Like always, please check out all the channels that make up the Ephraim brand of wrestling and entertainment here on YouTube.com. The one primary channel you're watching, Ephraim True Wrestling. Please also check out Ephraim True Entertainment, where we talk about video games, music, movies, anything in the media. Also, Brian's Fight Nation wrestling channel and FightNation.com. Also, please check out We Are Pro Wrestling, the most extreme wrestling. Also, XBA 325 and Champagne Shane. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Have a great night, and we'll see you back later in the week.